Good morning, student. Today we are starting with the new chapter in class 11th in biology subject, that is your plant kingdom. Class 11th, chapter 3, plant kingdom. And we are in the part biological just before we have studied biological classification. Children, in this we are going to study in plant kingdom subgroups like algae, bryophyta, pteridophyta, gymnosperm and angiosperm. So I am starting with the algae, and in all these four, that is algae, bryophyta, pteridophyta, gymnosperm and angiosperm, we are studying these parts in few subparts, like we have to study their important characters, general characters and their classification, then economic importance, and ultimately life cycle. Life cycle in algae we don't have a prominent life cycle, but in others we have, like in bryophyta we have pteridophyta, gymnosperm and angiosperm. So these are the few characters on the few factors on behalf of what we are going to study this chapter. We have to study important or general characters, classification, then economic importance and life cycle, graphical representation of life cycle. So let us start with the first part in the plant kingdom is algae. In this student, fortunately, we study classification and characters together. The first column denotes you about the character. Then in second column student, we can classify algae into three parts: chlorophyceae, phaeophyceae and rhodophyceae. Isn't it? Student, the common name of chlorophyceae is green algae. Common name of phaeophyceae, student, common name of phaeophyceae is brown algae. And common name of rhodophyceae is red algae. Red algae, isn't it? So the first feature is common name. And then student, here in the character we have to study major pigment. In these three, the first factor is major pigment, then cell wall composition, then mode of sexual reproduction is in your ISC course. What are the methods of the sexual reproduction? Then stored food, and then about flagella. So let us start one by one with these characters. Student, the first one is, if you emphasize, the first one is major pigment. In major pigment, I am giving you one idea how to learn it. You see, chlorophyll is common in all. Chlorophyll A is common in all. Chlorophyll A and chlorophyll A is common in all. And then we have to write B, C and D. After chlorophyll A in the first column, chlorophyceae, we add B, in phaeophyceae C, and in rhodophyceae D. Isn't it? These are the major. And then after that, here you have to write carotene and xanthophyll. Isn't it? Carotene and xanthophyll is common. Now how the colors are different? Why the colors are different? Because here in the red we add fucoxanthine. Due to fucoxanthine, the color brown of algae appears, isn't it? And then here we add phycoerythrin. Erythrin means red. You know very well. Erythrin means red. So what are the common things here? Chlorophyll and then carotene, xanthophyll. Chlorophyll, carotene, xanthophyll. And here in Phaeophyce, fucoxanthine. And here phycoerythrin. Red means erythro word is taken for red. Then student, cell wall composition. The cell wall of chlorophyll is composed of cellulose and pectin. Cellulose and pectin. And the cell wall of Phaeophyce composed of cellulose, fucin and algine. You can write fucinic acid or alginic acid also. Fucin and algine. So student, remember by this fucoxanthine you can remember fucin, and one of the example of Phaeophyce is fucus also. So this F for fucoxanthine, F for fucin, F for fucus. Like this you can remember. And here cellulose and pectin. Other than cellulose and pectin, we have polysulfate ester. Polysulfate ester. Then the next character is very important and very interesting. Already you have studied in the previous chapter. That is meaning of isogamous, anisogamous and oogamous. So the next factor is sexual reproduction. In the character of algae we have to study sexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction there are all the three: isogamous, anisogamous and oogamous. Already you know the meaning. Isogamous means, student, morphologically the gametes are similar, but physiologically they are different. And aniso means physiologically as well as morphologically they are different. And oogamous means one gamete is large, another one is small. One is motile and another one is immotile. So in this chlorophyce we have all the three conditions: isogamous, anisogamous and oogamous. And same thing is here also in Phaeophyce also. But in Rhodophyce we have advanced oogamous. Anisogamous and isogamous is not observed. Here we have only complex advanced oogamous type, isn't it? So that is related to the factor sexual reproduction. Now we can study stored food or reserved food. What are the stored food in this alga? Stored food in the chlorophyce is starch. And sometimes we can write pyrenoids also, that is starch and protein body, pyrenoids. Then in Phaeophyce, mannitol and laminarin. Student, laminarin, remember this word laminarin is very important. It is very important reserved or stored food of Phaeophyce, and due to this only we have one example called laminaria. Very popular example of Phaeophyce is laminaria. So you remember by this pigment laminarin, isn't it? And the last one in Rhodophyce we have fluoridine starch, isn't it? And in this fluoridine starch is the main characteristic feature of Rhodophyce. It is considered fluoridine. And then last but not least, that is flagella. Student, here we have to study, in flagella we have to study its number. How many numbers are there of flagella and the site of insertion of flagella. It is in your course. Site from where it get inserted. Site of insertion means anterior or posterior or lateral. So student, in chlorophyce there are 2 to 8, 2 to more equal types flagella, and they are apically inserted. Like this, apically, isn't it? And here in Phaeophyce there are 2 unequal and laterally inserted, means one is large, another one is small, isn't it? And here in Rhodophyce flagella is absent. Rhodophyceae flagellaris. This is the symbol of absence. And what are the popular example? Popular example of Chlorophyceae, as the name suggests, chloro. From chloro we can remember chlorella. Chlorella. And Chlamydomonas. Chlamydomonas, student, both the example start from chloro-CHL, chlorella CHL and Chlamydomonas CHL. Then here the example, as I told you, laminarine say laminaria and Fucus. And here Rhodophyceae, the example is, by the name we can remember an example, that is Rhodymania. Rhodymania, and one very famous example is Gelidium, by which we make agarose. Agar used in your cell culture technology for as a solidifying agent. Agar or agarose we extract from Gelidium. That we will study in economic importance. Hello children. Student, now we are on the second part of this chapter, that is economic importance of algae. Algae are very important plants, and student, you will be amazed after knowing some benefits of the algae. Like first one is in carbon dioxide fixation, then they are used as food and fodder, then in medicines as antibiotic also, and then in agriculture. So one by one I will explain you all. It is very surprising fact that 50% of the carbon dioxide fixation, children, 50% of carbon dioxide fixation is done by green algae. By what? Green algae during photosynthesis. Is it interesting? Very important. This is the first line in your NCERT course. When you will go through NCERT while preparing for NEET, this is the first economic importance. Carbon dioxide fixation, 50%, amazing fact. Then as food and fodder, children, there are some algas like you have studied the example in the last lecture, that is your Rhodymania and Laminaria. Laminaria used as food. They are edible alga in Japan and China. Japan and China. Similarly, very important alga, chlorella and spirulina. Chlorella and spirulina, student, these are used as food for space traveler. Chlorella and spirulina, very high nutritive value. So these are chlorella and spirulina used as food by space traveler in the space flight. Is it interesting or not? Then fodder, in fodder we can remember two compositions are there, Fucus and Laminaria. Due to their high nutritive value, they are used as fodder for the cattle. So you can remember that. Then the next one is as medicine and antibiotic. As medicine and antibiotic, student, very interesting topic. Brown algas. Brown algae, student, what is the other name? Phaeophyceae. They have high percentage of iodine. High iodine percentage, so they are used for curing what? Goiter. Isn't it? These are used to cure goiter. Brown algae, due to their high iodine composition. Goiter treatment. Similarly, from chlorella we derive chlorelline. From the chlorella derived from chlorella. Chlorella we derived from chlorella, that is used as antibiotic against many species of bacteria. Many species of bacteria, as antibiotic against many species of bacteria. And the last student, in agriculture, brown and many species of brown and red alga are used as organic fertilizer. Isn't it? So student, let us recap once economic importance of algae. First one is in carbon dioxide fixation, then second as food and fodder, third one as medicine and in antibiotic and in agriculture. Here 50% fixation of carbon dioxide we have studied through green algae, and here rhodymania and laminaria, example of Phaeophyceae. These are used as edible products in Japan and China. Chlorella and spirulina used as food for space traveler. Then medicine, brown alga, due to its high iodine composition, it is used in the treatment of goiter. And chlorella derived from chlorella is used as antibiotic in many bacterial diseases. And ultimately in industry, agricultural industries, brown and red algae, their composition is used as organic fertilizer. Student, now we are on bryophytes. After algae we have to study bryophyte in plant kingdom, and again the same sequence. First general characteristic feature, then economic classification, and then economic importance. And in some parts there are life cycle, that also we will do. So let us do the first part. That is, in bryophytes we are studying general features. Okay. The first general feature, very important feature, is that, student, these bryophytes are called amphibians of plant kingdom. Amphibians of plant kingdom. Why, student, they are called amphibians? Can be asked for 1 mark also. This year it was asked in class 11th. That is, why they are called amphibians means they live their maximum part of the life in soil. They live on soil, but for sexual reproduction depend on water for sexual reproduction. This is the reason why they are called, children, why they are called amphibians of plant kingdom. It can be asked in give reason also, and as well as it is very important general feature also, isn't it? Then second, student, they are the first to colonize on the land. First plant, their general feature, second general feature is they are the first to colonize on land. Before this, according to the evolution, algae was there, and alga are aquatic, and so they are the first after alga to colonize the land, isn't it? Third one is, student, they lack root. They lack root system, and instead of that they have rhizoids. Lack roots and have rhizoids. These are the false roots, they are not the true roots. So you can write lack true roots and have rhizoids for anchorage and absorption. Anchorage means, you know, student, anchorage and absorption, isn't it? So this is the third feature. Fourth student, fourth feature we can write that their life cycle completes in two phases. Life cycle completes in two phases, that is sporophytic diploid phase and gametophytic. So it has life cycle that we will study in this part only. After economic importance, we will study life cycle. But like these two phases were not in the alga. So these are the four general features. First one, student, they are called amphibians of the plant kingdom. Second, they are the first to colonize the land. Very important or not? Then they lack true roots. So, and they have rhizoids for anchorage and absorption. And then last one is, there are many, but these four are important. Then the fourth one is life cycle completes in two phases. Alternation of generation. So they involve this. That is, one is sporophytic, diploid phase, 2N, and gametophytic. Isn't it? Children, we are studying now the classification of bryophytes. There are two groups in bryophyte. One is liverworts and another one is mosses. Isn't it? So we have to learn two features of each. When we learn this, we learn two features of liverwort and mosses along with the example. Ready? So what are the two groups of bryophytes? So we can say in classification, liverwort. Liverwort, student, it has thyroid body. It is prostrate. It is prostrate structure. Prostrate means, student, just opposite of erect. Prostrate means just on the surface. It lies on the surface, on the marshy place. Then second feature, student, body is thyroid. Body is thyroid. Pay attention. Thyroid means thallus-like body. Thallus-like body means not differentiated into. Thallus-like body means not differentiated into root, stem, and leaves. Isn't it? And the example, the best example is Rixia, RICCIA, Rixia, and Markensia. Isn't it? These are the two examples of liverwort. So what are the two features? Body is prostrate on the surface. Second, body is thyroid, not differentiated into root, stem, leaves. Thallus-like body. Now here just opposite, mosses, the body is erect. Body is erect and the body is differentiated into main axis. Main axis and lateral appendages. Lateral appendages. These are the two features of mosses. What are the two features, student? Body is erect but not prostrate like this. Then second, it consists of main axis and lateral appendages. This is the main axis. This is the main axis, and these are the, you can say, lateral appendages, leaf-like. They are leaf only. This is capsule. This can be labeled as setae. Isn't it? And the best example is here is sphagnum. Remember, student, very important example. We have to study this in economic importance of also. Sphagnum is also called peat moss. we derive a medicine sphagnol from this. Then Funaria, popular example, Funaria mosses, isn't it? So this is all about your two groups of the bryophyte classifications. One is your liverwort and second one is mosses. Hello student, we are studying now economic importance of bryophytes. Student, all the factors, all these lines which I will explain you is one by one, point to point from your NCERT book. So pay attention please, it's very important in your NEET examination. Some points are added, isn't it? Some important keywords are there. So economic importance of bryophytes. Children, the first economic importance is, it is used as some examples. And I told you in the last lecture, sphagnum mosses are most important, most beneficial and economic. They are of very great economic importance. Sphagnum is also called peat moss. It can be used as fuel in medicine and in other purposes also. So the first one is as fuel. So in as fuel we study peat moss. Peat moss, student, is sphagnum. It has many names. Peat moss because it is the source of coal and hence can be used as fuel. Hence can be used as fuel because what? Why student? Because it is a source of coal. Okay. Then in medicine, again from sphagnum we derive sphagnol. Sphagnol is what, student? It is antibiotic. Again derived from which bryophyte? From sphagnum. Sphagnum is a moss. In the last lecture we have studied sphagnol is an antibiotic from sphagnum, which is very effective against gram positive and gram negative bacteria both. Against gram positive and gram negative bacteria, isn't it? Student, you can listen my voice, what I am saying you. So it will help you for writing the important answers in the assignment on your fair copy. Then next one is prevent soil erosion. Prevent soil erosion, isn't it? Here I have sphagnol spelling, just check student. Is sphagnol. Now the next one is very interesting, prevent soil erosion. In soil, how does it prevent soil erosion? Since mosses form dense carpet or mat over the soil, so it can prevent soil erosion. Prevent soil erosion. Why? Since mosses form dense carpet. Student, now we are studying life cycle of this plant kingdom's examples. So student, life cycle cannot be easily studied if you don't know some important terms used in the life cycle, because there is a quotation that reading without reflecting is like eating without digesting, isn't it? So if you know these terms, important terms used in life cycle, then life cycle of any plant kingdom, either it is bryophyte, pteridophyte or angiosperm or gymnosperm, it will be very easy for you. So let me explain you the terms. You can write this in your copy also. Important terms used in the life cycle. The first one is student Antheridium. Antheridium is the male part. Is the male part, student. Male part. Archegonium is the female part. Similarly, what is sporangium? All these terms, student, will be used in your life cycle of this bryophyte, pteridophytes, gymnosperm, angiosperm. Sporangium is the part bearing the spores. Sporangium is the part bearing the spores. The spores are the reproductive body. The spores are the spherical reproductive bodies, isn't it? Then oospore is nothing but the zygote, diploid structure, formed after syngamy. Oospore is found after fertilization, is also called syngamy, isn't it? Then you will get the word sporophyll. Sporophyll means, phylus means leaf. Sporo means leaf bearing spores. Leaf bearing spores. Then sorai or sorus. Sorai is plural and sorus is singular. It is the reproductive spots present beneath the leaf where sporangium develops. Here I am explaining, showing you with the above diagram. This is leaf, just beneath the leaf. This is spots, reproductive spots beneath the leaf where sporangium develops. These are the sorais or sorus, isn't it? Similarly, what is protonema? Another name is prothallus. Protonema or prothallus is the primary body generating from spores. Primary body generating from spores. When the spores grow, they produce protonema. Remember, student, when the spores grow, they produce protonema or prothallus. Pro means before. Then that is primary. Then sporo, what do you mean by sporophyte and gametophyte? The sporophyte is, student, it is spore producing phase. Spore producing phase which is diploid. This line, student, you are going to study in pattern of life cycle, that is diplontic, haplontic, haplodiplontic. So remember, sporophyte is what? It is the spore producing phase which is diploid, 2n. Similarly, what will be gametophyte? Gametophyte will be gamete producing. As the name suggests, gametes producing phase in the life cycle. Gamete producing phase in life cycle which is haploid. So this line you are going to use in haplontic life cycle, which is haploid. That is n. Student, gametophytic means haplontic. Here the gametophytic stage in haplontic type of the life cycle, gametophytic phase is dominant, and in diplontic type of life cycle pattern, sporophytic phase is dominant, isn't it? So all these are the important words. First one is Antheridium. Let us recap. Antheridium male part, Archegonium female part, oospore zygote, sporophyll leaf bearing the spores. Then next, sorai or sorus, reproductive spot present beneath the leaf where the sporangium develops. Then protonema or prothallus, primary body generated from the spores. Then sporophyte and gametophyte. Sporophytes are the spore producing phases in the life cycle, and this one is gametophyte, is gametes producing phases in the life cycle. So these two words will be used in alternation of generation also, isn't it? We have to study alternation of generation. Alternation of generation means two phases. Gametophyte phase in the life cycle alternates with the sporophytic phase. Student, In the last lecture, you have studied the main keywords and the terms helping you in studying the life cycle of all the examples of plant kingdom. So that will help you now. We are going to study life cycle of bryophytes, that is Funaria. And life cycle consists of two parts. And those two parts alternate one after another. That is sporophytic with the gametophytic. So in the life cycle of bryophyte, in your syllabus we have Funaria. So let us start now, student. We start from the gametophyte. Student, gametophyte has two parts, male and female parts. Two parts are there, student. And here the male part is called antheridial head, is the male part, and female part is archegonial head. Antheridial head will have antheridium, and archegonial head will have archegonium. That female head will have female part archegonium. Then antheridium develops male gamete called antherozoid, and the female gamete as usually egg cell. These are haploid. Now these gametes, male gamete, antherozoid and egg cell, will go through syngamy. The another name is fertilization, and will produce oospore. The parallel meaning is zygote. Now this is again 2n. We have entered in the sporophytic region now. That zygote or oospore, student, they grow, and you know very well, and become embryo. Embryo grows and become sporophytic plant. Sporophyte you can say, which bears sporangium and spore mother cell. This sporophyte, student, will bear spore mother cell. This spore mother cell will develop spore. You know the reproductive body, spores, and spores will develop protonema. That also I told you what is protonema. In the last lecture I told you protonema or prothallus is the first body which generates from spores, and ultimately this protonema will again develop into the gametophytic plant, Funaria plant, and again the same thing starts, student. Now this portion from where the syngamy occurs till spore mother cell, chromosome number is 2n. Chromosome number is 2n, and this area is called sporophytic phase. This is sporophytic phase, and the remaining phase, student, that side after meiosis division. After meiosis, when the spore develop, this area is called gametophytic phase, isn't it? This is called gametophytic phase. Let us recap once. We are studying life cycle of bryophytes. This is gametophyte. Funaria is the example. This plant body has thallus has two parts. The male part is called antheridial head. Female part is called archegonial head. Now antheridial head will have antheridium and archegonial head will have archegonium. Antheridia will produce male gamete called antherozoid and archegonium will produce female gamete called axel. Now these two gamete, very common thing, will go to through fertilization called syngamy. Syngamy, after syngamy zygote develops, then zygote grows into embryo, oospore grow into embryo, embryo will grow into sporophytic plant and that will bear spore mother cell in the sporangium, you can say. Then spore mother cell will produce spores. Spores they rupture to produce protonema. From spores protonema develop and this protonema will again develop the gametophyte body. Hello student, we are studying now general features of pteridophyte, that is the next part of the plant kingdom. We have already studied algae and bryophyte. Student, algae and bryophytes were not having the vascular body, vascular plant body, but these are the first to have, these are the most primitive plant having developing vascular body, and that is the first features. First general feature of pteridophyte is most primitive vascular plant. Student, what do you mean by vascular? You know very well, xylem and phloem, these tissues, they are neither in algae and nor in the what we call bryophyte. It has developed first in pteridophyte. Then the second feature is, here the plant body got differentiated into plant body, here it is sporophyte, differentiate into root, stem and leaf. Differentiated into root, stem and leaves, isn't it? And third one is, student, here the third one is, here they reproduce by spores only. They reproduce by spores. Pteridophyte reproduce by spores, isn't it? And fourth one, they don't have secondary growth due to absence of cambium. Secondary growth is absent. Secondary growth, you can write no secondary growth due to absence of cambium tissue, isn't it? And one more feature, student, we can write one more feature. 1, 2, 3, 4. One feature more we can write, student. They have, pteridophytes have two types of the leaves, microphylous and megaphylous, small and large leaves. Pteridophytes exhibit micro means small, phylus means leaf, microphylus and megaphylus type of appendages or leaves, isn't it? So these are the features. First feature is what, student? They are the first to develop vascular body, so most primitive vascular plant. Then the body is differentiated into root, stem and leaves, and they reproduce only by spores. Then no secondary growth due to absence of cambium. Then pteridophytes exhibits two kinds in their species, the two kinds of the leaves. One is microphylous and another one is megaphylous. After this we are going to classify pteridophytes, student. Children, now we are on the economic importance of pteridophytes. Economic importance of what, student? Pteridophytes. You will be amazed after knowing the economic importance of pteridophyte, student. First one is very simple, that is very popular. Grown as pteridophytes are grown as ornamental plants. Ornamental plants, and popular example is your adiantum, that one which has sori beneath the leaves. Then Selaginella. Second, student, second economic importance, you know Azolla, water fern. Azolla, water fern, along with Anabaena. It is grown as biofertilizer and play important role in nitrogen fixation. Azolla, that is water fern, along with Anabaena. Student, Anabaena is a kind of cyanobacteria. Anabaena is a kind of cyanobacteria. Anabaena and Azolla, both the combinations, they are grown as biofertilizer. Means they act as nitrogen fixer. They are in nitrogen fixation. Isn't it? This is also very important economic importance, isn't it? Then some species of Equisetum, student, they are used as mineral indicators. Some species of Equisetum are used as soil mineral indicator. Soil mineral indicator. Very surprising fact, amazing fact, you can say, that these accumulate the roots of this Equisetum accumulate the gold particles. So they act as mineral indicator. We can write here gold particles. Gold particles get accumulated at the root of Equisetum. Then student, some species of Equisetum act as diuretic in medicines. They are used in medicine. Diuretic, you know student, for the urination problem. They are given for the urination problem. So that is called diuretic, isn't it? So these are the common four. First, grown as ornamental plant. Then association of Azolla, that is the water fern, with the Anabaena, act as biofertilizer and helps in nitrogen fixation. Third one, act as soil mineral indicator, and act as can be used as diuretics. Children, we are on the classification of pteridophyte, and as per your course, fern is the example, the best popular example in the life cycle in the course of your pteridophyte is mature fern, isn't it? So let us start. First, this mature fern body having sporophyll. Sporophyll means leaves bearing spores. Okay, student. We will have sori, sorus, where it has beneath the leaf reproductive spot, and that will develop sporangium inside that, isn't it? Sporangium has spore mother cell. When sporangium grows, it has spore mother cell. Now spore mother cells, as the name suggests, will divide by meiosis division to produce spores. because they are spore mother cells. Meiosis is reductional division. So these spores will develop and they will have n number of chromosomes. So from here your gametophyte phase starts. Spores, isn't it, student? Now the spores will grow into prothallus or protonema. Prothallus has two areas, children. Prothallus has two areas. The male part is called antheridium. 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 And female part archegonium. Isn't it? Spore will develop prothallus. Prothallus will have antheridium, the male part, and archegonium, the female part. Female part will develop, you know very well, egg cell, and antheridium will develop antherozoid, male gamete. Antherozoid, male gamete. Now the gametes are ready for syngamy. Gametes will go for syngamy, that is fertilization to develop zygote and oospore. Isn't it? Oospore, you know, develops, zygote always develop into embryo and embryo grows into new plant. Now student, remember, after syngamy, the cell number become 2n, that is sporophytic. So this zone is sporophytic zone because chromosome number is 2n. This is sporophytic phase, and from here when the spore mother cell goes through meiosis and develops spores, which is n in number, this area is here gametes develop. So this phase of alternation of generation is gametophytic phase n, isn't it? So let us recap one, student. Life cycle of fern. Mature fern has sporophyll leaf which has sori beneath it. Sori develop sporangium. Sporangium has spore mother cell. Spore mother cell will develop spores by meiosis division. From here the gametophytic phase start. Spores breaks and grow into prothallus. In some example it is called protonema. Then antheridium. In the prothallus, two parts, male part antheridium, female part archegonium. Archegonium will develop egg cell. Antheridium will develop antherozoid. They will go through syngamy, fertilization to form oospore, zygote, develop into embryo and embryo into new plant. Zygote becomes 2n here, so that is sporophytic phase. So student, this is the life cycle of pteridophyte with a good example, fern or Triopteris. Children, now we are studying gymnosperms. That is, if you study gymnosperm carefully, you can easily compare with the angiosperm, because difference between angiosperm and gymnosperm is very important, isn't it? So the first feature of gymnosperm, student, gymno means naked and sperma means seed. Sperma means seed. The first general feature is it is non-flowering plant but with naked seeds. Means in the plant body seeds are there but they are naked, they are not enclosed in fruit wall or ovary, that is perianth. Pericarp. That is pericarp. They are not enclosed in pericarp, isn't it? So non-flowering plants with naked seed. That is the first feature. Second, student, they exhibit very prominent secondary growth. Prominent secondary growth because presence of cambium. Cambium is present. Cambium is present, isn't it? And third feature is they are heterosporous type. Are heterosporous means they produce two types of the spores. Isn't it? Hetero means two kinds of spores. Then they exhibit dimorphic kinds of leaves. One is foliage, one leaf form is foliage, and another one is scaly leaf. So these are the features. First one, non-flowering but have naked seeds. Second, secondary growth is prominent due to presence of cambium. And third one, they are heterosporous. And fourth, you can say they have two kinds of the leaf, dimorphic. One is foliage type, another one is scaly. Isn't it? Now let us study in the same lecture. Let us study economic importance of gymnosperm. Children, economic importance of gymnosperm is also they are grown as ornamental plant. Grown as ornamental. When you go to botanical garden, on the gates, on the sidewalk of the botanical garden, you will find plants of pinus. They have needle-like leaf. Pinus, cycas, ephedra, all these are ornamental. Pinus, pine, grown as ornamental plant. Then second, very important economic importance, provide timber wood. Provide timber wood. For what, student? For paper and plywood industry. Paper and plywood industry, for construction. Isn't it? Provide timber for paper and plywood industries, for construction purpose, and so on. Packaging also. Then student, next one, it provide resin, tannins. The tree provides tannins, resins, turpentine. So these all are what? Economic importance of gymnosperm. Then student, there is a fossilized resin called amber. Fossilized resin called amber of pine plant, Pinus. It is used in jewelry industries because they have power. Those amber resin have power to clean to shine the golds. So we can write that also. Amber. Amber is what, children? Fossilized resin derived from pine, used in jewelry industries to shine the gold, to shine the ornaments. Jewelry industries for cleaning and shining the jewels. So there are many economic importance, student, but I have given you only four general features and 4 economic importance so that you can easily learn and write on your fair copy on the basis of your assignment question. So the first economic importance is it is grown as ornamental plant, then provide timber, wood for plywood industries and paper industries and construction. Then the forest trees provide resin, tannins and turpentines. Then fossilized resins called amber from Pinus fossils. They are used to clean the ornaments in jewelry industries to make it shine. Good morning, student. We are studying now classification of pteridophytes. As I told you earlier, student, that in plant kingdom either it is algae, bryophyte, gymnosperm, angiosperm or pteridophyte. We have to study its classification. So now I am teaching you classification of pteridophyte. Student, there are 4 classes according to your course: Coelopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida and Pteropsida. Please emphasize on the spelling. Coelopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida and Pteropsida, isn't it? And now I'll give you the formula how to learn the classification of this typical kind of pteridophytes, classes of pteridophytes. Student, only you remember two formula I am giving you. Only we have to emphasize on development of its sporangium. This is the one formula. And one unique feature was one unique features, isn't it? So I have used blue color to tell you the first part of sporangium development. So what are those two factors by which we study this classification? About development of the sporangium and its shape. And second, one unique features along with the example, isn't it? So I am starting with Psilopsida. In Psilopsida, the spores produced in the sporangium is homosporous type. Homosporous means, student, spores of same kind. Then development of sporangium is eusporangiate type. Eusporangiate means superficially. It develops superficially from the epidermal cells like this. That is the about development of the sporangium, isn't it? And now the unique feature, student. Unique feature में Psilopsida is most primitive pteridophyte. Most primitive means, student, oldest pteridophyte. Pteridophytes, most primitive pteridophytes. And now mostly they are extinct. Mostly extinct, isn't it? And the best example, popular example is your Psilopsida by the spelling only. You can remember Psilotum, P-S-I-L-O-T-U-M, Psilotum, isn't it? So this is enough about Psilopsida. Now Lycopsida, student, again the first factor, development of the sporangium. So sporangium develops homosporous and heterosporous types of spores. Means two kinds of the spore, two different types of spores. And the development of the sporangium is from the axil of the leaf or sporophyll, like this from the axil of the leaf, isn't it? This is about the development of sporangium. And unique feature, student, the sporophyll. Sporophyll means leaf bearing the sporangium or spore. Sporophyll become compact strobili. Sporophyll forms compact strobili. And I am drawing the structure to show you strobili. It is like this. Compact strobili, it becomes like this. Strobilus or strobili, isn't it? And the famous example, Lycopsida में Lycopodium and Selaginella, isn't it? Then, student, Sphenopsida, the development of the spores is homosporous kind, same kind of the spore, and the development of sporangium is on sporangiophore. Like this is sporangiophore and this is sporangium, and it becomes, which forms cones at the apex. This is sporangiophore and this is sporangium. It forms cones at the apex, isn't it? So this is about the development of sporangium. Spores are homosporous type and development of sporangium on the sporangiophore, which forms cones at the apex. And unique feature, secondary branches. This is very important for your NEET exam. Secondary branches, it is in your very well explained in your NCERT book. The unique feature of Sphenopsida. Secondary branches are crowded on the stem. Secondary branches are crowded on the stem to give horse tail like appearance, like This is the stem, main branch, like this. And on this, secondary branches appear like this. They get crowded like this, and so it gives horse tail appearance. Horse tail appearance. This is the unique feature of Sphenopsida. And the best example is, that is why it is also called horse tail. The examples, and the best example is Equisetum. Unique example, Equisetum. Student, equus is the scientific name of horse. So that hint is given here. Secondary branches are crowded on the main stem to give horsetail appearance. And here, student, last but not the least, Pteropsida. Both kinds of the spore develop, hetero as well as homosporous type. And the development of the sporangium, very important for your NEET examination. In NCERT also this is given in very good manner. Development of the sporangium in the sori, beneath the sporophyll. Student, this is the sporophyll of the leaf. Beneath it, this you are looking these black dots. These black dots, student, this black dot, these are sori. Inside this sporangium develops. Inside this sporangium develops. And the unique feature is what? Unique feature is leaves. Leaves are pinnate and circinate. Circinate means they are like this. Pinnate and circinate means, student, like this. This is the main branch. And pinnate means like this. But circinate, we have seen fern, ornamental plant. Circinate means like this, circular. And pinnate means leaflets. And below this, beneath the margin, sori develops. This black reproductive spot, sori, and inside that sporangium is there. So what is the unique feature? Leaves are pinnate and circinate. And best example is your Dryopteris. Dryopteris and Adiantum. I will use red marker because in all the example I have used red marker. So example is Dryopteris. Dryopteris, very beautiful ornamental plant, and Adiantum also. That is your common fern. Adiantum, isn't it? So children, in this way we study classification of pteridophytes. Coelopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida and Pteropsida on the basis of spores and sporangium development and unique feature. So just emphasize, I am giving you time to focus on the board. Student, now we are on the life cycle of gymnosperm. Very interesting topic, student. Gymno, as you told, gymno means naked, sperma means seed. So their plant body is also different. They don't have like we don't write here archegonium or antheridium, but we write here male branch and female branch. And in your course, pinus is there. So two branches are there separately on the tree, male branch and female branch, or you can say male cone and female cone. Then male branch, naturally it will have male flower, and female branch will have female flower, isn't it? Now slowly and gradually we are going towards angiosperma. So remember, because flowers, non-flowering was there, but we call it as male and female flower because they have microsporangium and megasporangium. We called this gymnosperm as non-flowering, but we write here male and female flower because they have microsporangium and megasporangium. That is nothing but your microsporangium is what, student? Pollen, and megasporangium is your ovule. So simply we write here male and female flower, but it is non-flowering. Due to this we write flower. Microsporangium is your pollen and megasporangium is your ovule. Okay. So let us start again. Gymnosperm tree has two branches, male and female branch. So male branch will have microsporangium, will develop pollen. Female branch will have megasporangium, will develop ovule. And in this sporangium, naturally microspore mother cell. In microsporangium there will be microspore mother cell, and in megasporangium there will be megaspore mother cell. So they are 2n in number. These are 2n. Now meiosis division will occur, and from here your gametophyte will start. Meiosis division will produce microspore mother cell will produce microspores, and megaspore mother cell will produce megaspore. Now there are n number haploid, and this area, this phase is your gametophytic. Gametophytic. Student, I have used black marker for this area, that is your sporophytic. Now I will label here with red. That is your microspore and megaspore. They will produce, microspore will produce male gamete and megaspore will produce female gamete. Now these two will go or syngamy. Gamete means always the next step is syngamy, fertilization. And now again I am using black pen, black marker. Oospore, zygote, again 2n. Now we are in the sporophytic phase. Oospore will develop into, oospore means zygote will develop into embryo. Here seed develops, embryo, and here what we have to write seed. In pteridophyte, directly from embryo we will write in plant, but here we will write seed. This is the only naked seed, and that will again grow into gymnosperm, the plant gametophytic, sporophytic plant. The sporophytic phase. Student, sporophytic means 2n, and gametophytic here we are using red. I have used red marker purposely to show you gametophytic phase, and that is sporophytic phase. Isn't it? Let us recap once. Gymnosperm, in your course Pinaceae, the example, have male and female branches, and that male branch will have microsporangium, pollen, and female branch will have megasporangium, ovule. Obviously, naturally, microsporangium will have microspore mother cell, and megasporangium will have megaspore mother cell. Mother cell means they will produce microspore mother cell will produce microspore, and megaspore mother cell will produce megaspore. Microspore will give male gamete, female gamete, syngamy, oospore, zygote will develop an embryo, but here we have to write seed. This is the naked seed, the main feature of gymnosperm, and that will grow into new plant. Angiosperm, student, we are starting with the last part of plant kingdom, angiosperm. Angiosperm general feature, angios means, student, enclosed. Sperma means seed. Seeds are enclosed in the ovary wall, that is pericarp. So the first feature is just opposite of gymnosperm. Gymnosperm was non-flowering plant with naked seeds, and angiosperm flowering plants with enclosed seeds. Where they are enclosed? They are enclosed in pericarp, or we can say fruit wall, ovary wall, isn't it? Then second one is seed. Now this first point was related to the seed, so we will study the second point, which is also related with the seed. Seeds bears cotyledon, but in gymnosperm seeds were not bearing cotyledons, but here the seeds will bear cotyledons. One cotyledon monocot and two cotyledon dicot. Then it exhibits double fertilization. You know, student, double fertilization is the most important features of angiosperm, discovered by Sir Navaschin. Double fertilization involves triple fusion, and that produces endosperm. Sorry, the last point is presence of endosperm. The fourth feature, endosperm develops. Endosperm is 3 structure, develops after double fertilization. So student, these are the 4 features. It is the flowering plant with enclosed seed, then seeds have cotyledons, then double fertilization and production of endosperm after triple fusion. Now let us study classification in this only. In classification, we have 2 categories. From cotyledons only I am explaining you classifications. We have 2 kinds of the plants. In angiosperm, monocot plants and dicot plants. Isn't it? So very simple. Monocot, you have studied in basic classes, have single cotyledon. Okay. Second feature, it exhibits secondary, it lacks secondary growth. Lacks secondary growth because cambium is absent. Secondary growth, isn't it? Now we can study the remaining feature on the basis of its leaf, stem and what? We can study leaf, stem and root. Single SINGLE, single cotyledon, then lacks secondary growth. Third feature, student, leaves show parallel venation. Isn't it? Then roots are adventitious. They have adventitious. Okay. And in stem, as I told you, it lacks secondary growth, isn't it? And the best example is M for monocot, M for maize, all the grasses, bamboo, maize, and we can say some cereals are there like rice, maize, rice. Now let us see the opposite and parallel point. Here single cotyledon and in dicot, double cotyledon, very simple. Then exhibits secondary growth. Exhibits secondary growth. Third parallel point. Student, what will be the third? Here parallel venation and here reticulate venation. Then here adventitious root and here tap root system. Student, you know what is the difference between tap root system and adventitious? In tap root, student, the primary branch, like this is the primary branch, it develops secondary branch and tertiary branches also. That is the feature of the tap root system. And in the last, here example was maize and rice, and here the example dicot, best example gram, pea. You have seen gram and pea, we break it into 2 parts, dicot, gram, pea, then mango. So this is the classification of angiosperm, 2 categories, monocot plant and dicot plant. First one was on the behalf of cotyledon, then secondary growth, cambium is absent, cambium present, then venation. In leaf we can write one more, here the leaves are isobilaterally arranged and they are dorsi-ventrally arranged, isn't it? Then adventitious roots, and adventitious means the all the roots they develop from the base of the stem and they are of same size, thread-like. And taproot have primary and secondary branches. Example of monocot, M for monocot, M for maize, all the cereals, rice, then dicot plant, gram, pea and mango. Good morning, student. Student, we are on the last life cycle of plant kingdom. Earlier we have studied life cycle of bryophyte, pteridophytes, then gymnosperm, now angiosperm, that is the flowering plant. And student, fortunately, if you are studying this life cycle carefully, that will help you in class 12th bio chapter, that is sexual reproduction in angiosperm. It will be easy for you, sexual reproduction in flowering plant or angiosperm. So let us start. This is flower. Flower has both male and female part. Male part is student stamen. Stamen is the male part and anther is called microsporangium because it develops microspore. Okay, inside microsporangium, student, microspore mother cell develops. Microspore mother cell develops. As the name suggests, microspore mother cell will produce microspore tetrad. Microspore tetrad means 4 microspores are attached to each other. Microspore tetrad. Then from here meiosis division occurs in the microspore mother cell. These are n in number now. Now this microspore tetrad will separate and will form microspore, that is your pollen grain. That is your pollen grain. Now this pollen grain will grow and will produce pollen tube. Will produce pollen tube. This is the male side, and you know in angiosperm double fertilizations are there, so it will have 2 male gametes. Is it? Now concentrate on the left side here, female part. What will be the opposite and parallel of stamen? Will be pistil. Opposite and parallel of stamen will be pistil, and opposite and parallel of microsporangium will be megasporangium. Ovule is also called megasporangium. Now here we have seen that microsporangium developed inside this microspore mother cell was developed. Here megaspore mother cell will develop. Megaspore mother cell. Then microspore mother cell by meiosis division produced their microspore tetrad. Here megaspore tetrad. Megaspore tetrad. Student, in 11th class you have to only study all these words. You have to do rote learning of all these words, and that you will see, you will observe in theory in class 12th bio in detail. You will observe how the megaspore mother cell by meiosis divides and produces megaspore tetrad. Similarly, here microspore tetrad, it produced microspore. Similarly, megaspore tetrad will produce 4 megaspores. Their tetrad means 4. So here 4 megaspore. Out of this 4 megaspore, children, 3 degenerates. 3 degenerates. And there is only one functional megaspore. One functional megaspore and that will ultimately develop embryo sac or female gametophyte. Embryo sac or female gametophyte. In this double fertilization will occur. Male gametes from the pollen tube. Male gametes from the pollen tube will fuse with the egg in the embryo sac, and now it will become 2N. It will develop into zygote. Zygote is 2N, and that will develop into embryo. This is the cotyledon, and this is your embryo. Embryo will develop into student plant, flowering plant, and that will again have flower, and again the same thing will start. 2N diploid, 2N, and again the same thing will start. Let us recap once. Stamen will have microsporangium, will develop microspore mother cell, by meiosis produce microspore tetrad. Then microspore, that is your pollen tube, pollen grain will develop pollen tube to produce male gamete, and here this pistil has ovule that is called megasporangium. Megasporangium will have megaspore mother cell that will develop megaspore tetrad, 4 megaspores, 3 will degenerate, 1 will remain, 1 functional megaspore, and that will form embryo sac or female gametophyte. And then fertilization will be here, zygote will be formed, embryo will develop, embryo into new plant, and flowering plant will have 1 flower again. Same thing starts. So this will help in class 12 bio in sexual reproduction also. Student, all the examples of plant kingdom, they go through 3 life cycle pattern. How many? 3 life cycle patterns: haplontic type, diplontic type, and haplodiplontic type. So we are going to study first these 2, haplontic and diplontic. As you know, your class 11 is also now board. So remember, out of these 3, one will be asked. Either haplontic life cycle or diplontic or haplodiplontic. It is very interesting. If you understand one, you can compare the other and easily you can learn. First I will teach you haplontic type. Student, in all the algas, mostly in all the algae like Spirogyra and Volvox, we have haplontic type of life cycle. Haplontic word is derived from haploid, that is n state of chromosome. So in alga like Spirogyra and Volvox, we start from here. The zygote, that is 2N, represents sporophyte. Represent what? Sporophyte. Isn't it? Zygote represents sporophyte, and then what will happen? This sporophyte will go through meiosis division and will produce spores, because zygote in alga represent sporophyte. They don't have any plant body. Isn't it? Now these spores will grow into gametophyte, and this gametophyte, it is dominant phase. Remember, this is keyword, student. Gametophyte in the haplontic, this gametophyte is dominant here, because you see the most area is covered by n state of chromosome. N starts from here, n, then gametophyte n, that is haploid, isn't it? Now gametogenesis will occur in the gametophyte and gametes will be produced, that is also n, isn't it? Now this gamete will go through syngamy. Gamete will go through syngamy and again 2N. zygote will be formed. Now you see the in this life cycle, the maximum area is covered by haploid state, N, isn't it? So that is why it is called haplontic life cycle pattern, isn't it? Let us recap once. We are studying life cycle pattern. So first we are studying haplontic type. Now in the example like algae, Spirogyra and Volvox, zygote represent sporophyte. This is one keyword. Zygote represent sporophyte. So it goes through the zygote, divide and go through again immediately meiosis and produce spores that will develop into gametophyte, and if it is gametophyte it will produce gametes, and then this gamete will go through fertilization or syngamy to produce again zygote. It's very minor life cycle. It is not in detail. Only you have to emphasize on these two keywords. Zygote represents sporophyte and gametophyte phase of the life cycle is the dominant phase. Gametophyte means N, isn't it? So it is called haplontic. You see this area where N is there, it is dominant phase. Then this zygote, that is sporophyte. Now let us come on this pattern, that is diplontic. The best example of diplontic is student, it is gymnosperm and angiosperm. In gymnosperm and angiosperm, now compare what is the difference. What is the difference, student? Here gametophyte was dominant phase, but here sporophyte will be dominant phase. So we will start from sporophyte. If the difference between haplontic and diplontic phase is asked, remember sporophyte will be dominant phase, and then that will go through 2N will go through gametogenesis in angiosperm. Gametogenesis will produce gametes. This is haploid. These gametes will go through syngamy. As soon as we write gamete, remember syngamy of fertilization, and that will produce syngamy of fertilization will produce zygote. Now from here again it is 2N after syngamy fertilization, isn't it? And this zygote will grow again into sporophyte. Now you observe carefully and tell me, means you observe and take the decision that this area of the life cycle is having maximum part, that is 2N. So it is called diplontic. Diplontic means sporophyte is dominant phase, 2N is dominant, and here only this much is the area of haploid when the gametogenesis occurs and gametes are produced. So the maximum area in this life cycle is sporophytic, so it is diplontic, and the example is your gymnosperm and angiosperm, isn't it? In haplodiplontic, after this we will study haplo and diplontic. Haplodiplontic, in that there is equal area covered by, you can say equal part is covered by haploid and diploid phase. Both are equally dominant. That is what it is called haplodiplontic. Student, in the last one we have studied haplontic phase. We have studied that in haplontic phase, dominant phase is represented by gametophyte, and in diplontic phase, the dominant phase was represented by sporophyte. But this is haplodiplontic type of life cycle pattern. So student, in this, you see carefully, in this one dominant phase is represented by haploid gametophyte and another dominant phase is represented by diploid sporophyte. Diploid sporophyte that we will study now. This is sporophyte. Sporophyte phase, diploid. So this phase, one dominant phase is represented by here sporophyte. Sporophyte produced by meiosis. Spores will be produced, and then that will develop into gametophyte. And gametophytes, very important feature. Please remember, gametophyte divides by mitosis. Amazing fact. To produce gametes through gametogenesis. Then these gametes will fuse by syngamy, that is fertilization, and that will produce zygote, and zygote will develop into sporophyte. So how we define this? Student? In this pattern, one dominant phase is represented by haploid gametophyte, and another dominant phase is represented by what? Diploid sporophyte. And so it is called, this area haplo, and that area haplodiplontic pattern of life cycle. Let us define here. Very important definition. In this pattern, one dominant phase is represented by haploid gametophyte. This one, this area, haploid gametophyte, while other dominant phase, this one, dominant phase is represented by diploid 2n sporophyte, and the best example, student, is your pteridophytes. Pteridophytes is the best example for haplodiplontic. They produce spores, you know very well. So student, in this way we complete this chapter, plant kingdom. Now we will start animal kingdom after this chapter. So this is the last topic, haplodiplontic type.